Creativity and creative thinking are tremendous, but we've all experienced times when we have needed to wrestle through some or all of the process. With that in mind, we've designed the Creative Wrestle to be a space to learn, reflect, and steal from a broad range of like-hearted creatives. We speak with artists, entrepreneurs, musicians, production directors, strategists, storytellers, and many more on their inspirational and unique approaches to the creative process. This is the Creative Wrestle with Lauren and Renée.
This episode is brought to you by Brown Fox Creative House. Brown Fox Creative House helps founders and brands turn big ideas into unforgettable impact. They take a holistic approach, blending strategy, storytelling, and data-driven creativity to launch brands, lead culture, and inspire action. With people and emotion at the centre, Brown Fox Creative House creates work that moves audiences to action. Go say hi on socials at Brown Fox Creative House or visit brownfox.com.au.
Robbie Parkin has worked extensively in live theatre for over 35 years as a producer, writer, performer and director across both professional and community settings. His early musical theatre credits include Man of La Mancha, Bye Bye Birdie, Guys and Dolls and Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. He has worked professionally writing and directing on many large-scale community and corporate theatrical events throughout Queensland, including major productions for Southbank Parklands such as Easter Live and Christmas at Southbank, and for City Hall with the Lord Mayor's Christmas Pantomime. Most recently, he worked on the development of and was part of the initial creative team for the Brisbane City Christmas Parade, and he wrote and directed the annual Christmas pantomime performed to thousands in King George Square each year. He is currently especially enjoying collaborating with school creative teams, sharing his experience through directing student musicals.
Well, hello, Robbie. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so honoured and privileged to have you with us.
Oh, thanks. You're too kind.
My first knowing of you would have been when I was in high school. You were well known, in the arts community and the Christian community, and I had a lot of respect for you. And I hadn't met you, though I had been a little bit involved in your theatre company with Josh Mack, podcast guest. And then I was so stoked to find out that you would be my drama lecturer in uni. I think yours was the only textbook I actually purchased in my double degree.
Good to hear that.
Yeah, drama-wise, I think it was. So I wasn't a big believer in buying the textbooks. You know, they're available, excerpts are available online. You've got the library. I've got my older sister who's probably purchased every textbook and downloaded all the recommended readings. Different people, that's fine. And then I had the privilege of teaching with your daughter Gabby and in our high school, and also working with your lovely sister-in-law Gaydeen, who is another incredibly talented creative. So that's how I know you, and we have so much more to learn today. Could you start with a little bit about how you got into the arts?
Well, I'm going to show my age straight away. I'm a bit of an old baby boomer. And so, I was in high school in the mid-70s. I went to a state school, good old Clontarf High, without a T, Clontarf High down at Redcliffe. And there was no drama subject. There was no theatre subject. There's no dance. There was no, extracurricular teaching or drama or anything at all. Now there's film and TV and production and, Cert 4 courses in theatre management and event management, just while kids are still 15 and 16. Yeah. So you kind of had to build your own adventure back then. Wow. And I suppose around that age, 13, 14, thinking, what do I want to do? And I can literally remember being in an English class and we read some scenes from The Crucible.
Yeah. Wow.
And for me, it was like, what is this thing called theatre? What is this? I came from a very musical family, but maybe I saw a couple of kids' pantomimes or something when I was young. And back then there was no QPAC. There was no, touring shows coming through, particularly for kids. There wasn't all the Disney musicals. It was a grown-up kind of thing. Yeah. So I can vividly remember going, oh, this is interesting. And so the little bit sort of came through English of a bit of interest. So anything that was involved with performance was really the school musical, the good old school musical. And I was in that little group of kids at the high school that were in the school musical. We used to run a talent quest. We did a school play. We had a school radio station, which was a couple of speakers hanging out a
Wow.
window out into the parade ground, and we'd go at lunchtime and play LPs, and so when I look back, it was a bit like build your own adventure. But from there, I got involved in the local community theatre company. So I started in the amateur realm, and there was training available back then. Obviously, there's, we see Australian film, TV, and theatre actors in my genre, in my age, that trained. But it was just a very narrow, it just wasn't considered. My generation, you went and did a trade, or you went and worked at the bank, I went and worked in some business sort of areas. But I always had this passion for theatre, and musical theatre particularly, through the local theatre company, which was called RMAS, Redcliffe Music and Arts Society.
Yeah.
Changed its name to Mousetrap. They're still down there under that name, Mousetrap.
Yeah.
And so in my later teens and after school and sort of early 20s, I was into the local Amdram, amateur dramatics, doing Oklahoma and Brigadoon and all these old school musicals.
Wow.
And so that's how I really got into it.
So at what point did you think, this is something I want to do professionally?
Well, I'm going to level with you. There was only a sort of a period of my life where I'd say that I did do it professionally. I mean, like a 15-year period. And it was the poorest 15 years of our lives. Okay, like I've got a beautiful wife, a wonderful wife who's a nurse who had the real job. And because of my faith, I felt it was a calling to do what we were doing, and I can share more about that a little later. But what we felt we were developing, and with the theatre company that my brother and I started, was something that we felt really called to. So you could call that professional because there wasn't any other income coming in. Now, I had to create other incomes through a lot of corporate theatre, community theatre, consultant, lecturing. I had lovely students who bought the textbooks. And so there was an income. So I did have a period where I would say I was professionally engaged in the theatre industry. And that probably happened in my early 30s. So, for about 15 or so years, and then I moved into radio and ended up doing breakfast radio, which was like writing without typing and acting without rehearsing. It was great for family life because it wasn't the weekends and night work.
Yes.
And so it was definitely a right season for me to do that. So I was able to express myself creative, of course, professionally there in radio. So I'd say I worked professionally in the media, in theatre and the arts and media. I wouldn't say I'm a professional theatre director of who I know some of these guys where they have gone, they've trained, that's what they do. They're directing revivals or creating new works or running theatre companies that are creating new works all around Australia. That's not me. I've intentionally wanted to stay connected to my roots of that community sort of vibe.
Yeah.
And when you mention calling, I'm super interested in this because when you talk about calling, it's kind of this grip on your heart and you just kind of know that you need to do it. Can you unpack that a little bit for us? What would you describe as the calling for you?
I think the calling was to use my creativity. You can't not, if you're a creative, we're all creative people. Everybody's creative.
Yes.
We're born creative. We're created creative by the Creator. That's what I firmly believe.
Beautiful. Yes.
But some of us are called to work in more creative realms. And I think that we have to express that creativity. It's interesting. I was listening to a podcast actually the other day. The word vocation, I think comes from, I think it's the Greek, and vocation is the same as vocal, as in vocalize. So the word vocation actually means to call out, to be called out. And that's why you can talk about when you find your vocation in life, it's your calling.
Yes,
it's calling you, and it's been called out for you. So I hope that's unpacked it for you a little bit. But I just think that that's so important. If you and there's the old saying, if you find something you love doing, you never work a day in your life. But I know some people have incredibly creative outworkings of their calling, yet are accountants and solicitors and mechanics. And so I'm not a purist. Some people go, darling, where did you train? We're the creative people, and if you didn't, you're not a creative person and you're a mechanic. Ooh, booey, it's not that. It's everybody. And working in the community theatre area, you just I've worked with some of the most talented performers and musicians and vocalists and choreographers and designers and people that are amazing. And as you get to know them, they're like I don't know, they're a physiotherapist, or they're a florist,
Yes.
or they're a house painter. So vocation is different to employment.
Yes.
I believe.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I like to think of it as hybrids. I know that has lots of different definitions, but the more I talk to people who would call themselves creatives and like what you're saying, they maybe during the day they have a vocation or something, a job that they go to, a title, and then they've got this other side of them that is energized and needs to find expression. Maybe that's artistic, solution, strategy, etc. So I love that. Thank you.
So would you say that your I know some members of your family that are highly creative. Is that the environment that you grew up in at home as well? Was that encouraged at home?
Definitely from the music area. My mum was a violinist, and she used to play in orchestra, and my dad used to play piano accordion. He used to play in the big bands, and I used to play piano in all the big bands. This is during the Second World War. That's how old I am. So my dad's no longer with us. Mum's still around, but she was a violinist. They actually met. He used to come out and play the squeeze box, the piano accordion, in front of the curtain while the scene changes were happening. And he checked out this little blonde down in the first violin player, and the rest is history. So they are both musicians, and Mum was an amazing musician, and Dad was just always an amazing musician. We grew up with music in our house, and we grew up, although I said we didn't see a lot of live theatre, but we grew up on all the Rodgers and Hammerstein movies.
Yes.
All the classic movies and that came out through before I was born. And that was stuff that we had, that kind of music in our house, jazz, a lot of jazz, a lot of classical music to a certain extent, but show music. And my vivid memory of being, falling asleep under the piano. It was a grand piano, that's how I fitted under there. Their little baby grand in their little house at Clontarf. Wow. And all the parties would be Dad on the piano and all their friends, my mum and Dad's friends, singing.
Oh, it's a movie scene.
Yeah, it is. It is a movie scene.
Yeah.
So I grew up with music and then got the theatre bug sort of in the school years. And then my brother, who was 7 years older than me, was a professional drummer for 7 years. I did some drumming and some music and stuff as well. And then fast forward to I'm 18 and he's 25. He'd never walked on stage as an actor or singer. He'd been in the whole music scene. And I said, oh, mate, we need more men for Fiddler on the Roof up at the Redcliffe Music and Arts Society. Why don't you come and audition? And the Dirty Rodder came in and got a role bigger than mine. And him and I then started working together on lots of stuff and creativity there. And then his wife, Gaden, you talked about, was a great performer, but particularly designer. My brother's a great artist and designer. They're both incredible artists, as in graphic artists. And Renée, Gaden's an amazing costume designer, and David's amazing set designer. I was able to do some work with me on a production I'm working at the moment. We've done stuff together for years.
Sounds like a great team.
Yeah, so there's certainly a lot of creativity in the family. And then my niece was a drama teacher. She studied music, a drama teacher. My daughter went and did musical theatre at the Con. Unfortunately, she graduated just before COVID. So that sort of sidetracked her, where she thought she was heading. But again, she's found her vocation in teaching and is loving it.
Yeah.
To her credit, pivoted. And my son is a professional drummer, did drumming at the Con, and he drums in the orchestra on a cruise ship. He's about to fly off on Saturday back to the Caribbean for his third contract on one of the big super ships. So James comes and goes. My daughter lives away from home, but just teaches at the school, which is up the road. But before we were empty nesters, it was a very loud household.
Yeah,
because I'd be in my office, blaring out music, planning for a show I'm directing. Gabby'd be in her bedroom singing, something that she's rehearsing for a musical degree at Con. And James's, what used to be supposed to be my office, is his drum room. And he's bashing away practicing drums every day.
So maybe we need to chat to your neighbours about their perspective on your creative family.
We're very lucky. We've got a golf course opposite us.
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
On one side, we've got John, who's very old and can't hear a thing. And the other side, a lady called Amy, whose son was a drummer who lives in Korea. who just goes, I love hearing the drums because it just makes me
yes.
think of my son. So we're looked after.
Yes.
Perfect.
That is
Perfect for a
perfect
drummer.
situation.
Yeah. So music everywhere.
Yeah. So does that mean that do you prefer to direct musicals?
Yes, definitely. I have done plays when we were running a theatre company, predominantly, if not all, comedies. Things like Importance of Being Earnest, some of the classics, Charlie's Aunt, some English farces. We used to do musical. We used to do theatre restaurants, so a lot of sketch stuff for that. So comedy. I'm pretty lightweight, really.
Yeah.
We did Shakespeare's. I used to perform some smaller roles in Shakespeare, but I was mainly in a producer role when that was happening. I'd get in the real directors and the real actors for the Shakespeare.
So what would you say would be your main form of creative expression? Is it directing?
Definitely now. I mean, the last time I actually did a role, was probably 20 years ago with Mr. Bushnick in a production of Little Shop of Horrors. And we did Jesus Christ Superstar, and I was Caiaphas and that. Yeah. So I was never a leading man, didn't have the body shape for it. My probably role I loved the most was Nicely Johnson in Guys and Dolls, which I've played twice, directed that show three times now, did about 2 years ago out at Ipswich. Yeah. It's probably my favourite musical.
Oh,
lesser known musical.
Grant and Luke.
Yes.
Grant Catchman and Luke Ralph.
Yeah, did you see that?
No, I didn't. Oh. I really wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
Would have been great if I had, and then I could talk about it now. But
well, you lost the points now for the textbook.
Yeah.
Gee whiz. Yeah. No, that was great to work with those guys again.
Yeah, right. Okay, so with directing, could you give us a bit of a peek into your process?
Okay. Well, it's funny you use the word process because I always have a bit of a golden rule is always process over product.
Right.
There's really two schools. There's Pepsi and Coca-Cola. You know, there's Toyota and Mazda. There's two. All roads lead to the same place.
Right.
But there's. I really believe there is big stick directing, and there is carrot directing, and I'm a carrot director because I'm such a softie. But I try to focus on the process, and then that leads to a good product. I would be happier to walk away from production knowing that everybody loves everybody. Everybody had the most amazing experience, particularly working in the amateur realm. So, you know, like when I did Guys and Dolls, we're all working as professionals at the top, but the people, you know, playing major roles in that are doing it for the love of it. And they don't want to go away hating me, hating each other, feeling bad about themselves and going, well, I'll never work with that mob again. Yeah. And a lot of that goes on. So I think my primary thing is about creating a creative, safe environment.
Yes. It's interesting you say that because I was talking to Gaydeen, Lauren Holyoke and Claire Dennis about you and something that came up was they said you're really good at championing the ideas of the people around you. You're not the director that just you have your thing that you want to do and that's, you know, it's that or it's nothing. Something that they mentioned was that you're really good at, you know, if someone else in the team has an idea, you're ready to just give that one a go or support them. Yeah,
and that's so true. I'm a great believer in team. What I tend to do is have a plan as if, this will sound funny, because I've just been working on it at the moment. Because I'm doing the detail brief for the choreographer for the show I'm working on at the moment. And so I've got an idea for almost every bar of every song of what could kind of work. Ideas, not dance, because I'm not dancing. But, you know, I could see that happening there, and this is what we're trying to say here, and that's we're doing that. So to me, though, that's the safety net. Yeah. There's certain numbers in the show where I'll be saying to her, hey, just take it and run with it.
Yeah.
Wow. So empowering.
It is. And But you talk about Lauren, so the show I did with them was Godspell. That's very.
I did see that one. That was great.
Oh, good. Thank you.
We're back on track.
You're back in my good books. Speaking of books, it's traditionally it's a very workshop show, but working with high school age kids and working at the pace of doing a show like that is I had to approach each, you know, it's very episodal. It's like all it is a whole pile of Bible stories, basically. Yes. So you could probably, if I was sitting there with you, I could sort of say, see that whole section there? That's pretty much, we didn't get a chance to workshop that with those kids.
Right.
That's just me like creating them and moulding them and putting them into place.
Yeah.
But the next three sections, I had completely different ideas for those.
Wow.
But that my idea might be the best idea for that group of kids.
Yeah.
So if they come and go, oh, particularly generationally, so they come and go, oh, we think I'm going, oh, I reckon we should do this song like a rap. That'd be really cool. And they're just like going, yeah, okay, Granddad.
Yeah.
What if we did it like this character or this reference? Because it has a lot of pop culture references.
Yes.
Yes.
Because they're flying over my head. My kids are in their 20s. These kids are in their teens.
Yeah.
And whatever is pop culture for them, I wouldn't have a clue.
Yes.
So there's an example of how it's going to be better if I let them go, let people go. It can backfire. I think I've got really good over 35, 40 years of sizing team members up. So I don't always get to choose my own team. Now, when I did Godspell, I had my daughter Gabby as the choreographer.
Yeah.
My son James as the MD. He drummed for
really?
it and was the music director. My sister-in-law doing the costumes, and David, my brother, came in and helped with a lot of the design concepts and did all the drawings and stuff. So obviously that's the team. And back in the theatre company days, more so at the beginning, it was this same group of people working with each other. Sometimes now I get a gig with a company and they'll go, all right, Robbie, you're directing Les Mis. I did Les Mis probably about 6-7 years ago at Wynnum. This is your music director. This is your choreographer. This is your designer. Now, they were all wonderful. I should say that in case they're listening. But they were amazing. And, 9 times out of 10, they are. But that's the downside of letting go. So sometimes you let go, but then you let them go and they drift off into the distance a little bit. And particularly if they come like unprepared as a team leader, if a choreographer comes and I think, oh, they have not even looked, they didn't even look at the schedule. They're improvising.
I want to empower you, but with what?
But it doesn't happen a lot, but it can happen.
Yeah.
Can I ask, Robbie, is this something that you had to learn or is it a natural approach? Like, for example, did you work with someone who didn't have the team in mind and didn't make it feel great working, and so you decide, no, I'm not going to do it that way? Or is it just a natural way that you have approached directing?
Probably 2 yeses. I think I've worked with people way back in my early days when I was like a kid in the chorus and then got bit parts and then play nicely or, playing a lead role or being involved. I've probably worked with the 2 different styles of direction.
Yeah.
And so I did see it generally. I can't think of specific examples. A gentleman called Chris, who was really fundamental in starting the theatre company, who was from the UK. He was with the Royal Shakespeare Company and his wife Judy was with Leeds Playhouse, and they came over and lectured for the Victoria College of the Arts, became pastors, and then moved to Brisbane and were integral in starting out the theatre company because the theatre company came out of a church initially.
Amazing.
And when we were a touring team, they were the team that I learned a lot from, and they were all about environment and all about, they were the real deal. And also I think you'd say, do I have that natural ability? I think that's when we come back to that calling, that vocational calling again. You're not really called to something you don't have the ability for. All that will do is create stress. If you think you're doing something you're called to and you're getting stressed and it's not working and you're a nervous wreck and you're a hot mess and everyone around you is a hot mess, well, maybe it wasn't really a calling in your life. It was last night's chicken. You got to,
Honestly,
so the gifts come with the calling. The gifts and ability come with the calling.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that. So true.
So where does the wrestle show up for you when you're directing? Because this is the creative wrestle after all. Where does it show up? In
a practical way, I would love the luxury of directing something in a fully professional realm where you have a cast, 8 hours a day, sometimes 10 hours a day, 5 days a week for an intensive time of 4 weeks. At the end of it, you put on the Australian tour of Wicked. You know what I mean? Or you put on, or you have I've watched all the docos on the ABC about Muriel's wedding. I don't know if you've seen that stuff. It's really interesting. They're developing the script and then trying to find the auditions, and they develop the script, then they do showings, and then they go. And the whole thing was like a 2-year kind of, like we're filming, they work on something for 8 years before they even take the first bit of film.
Yeah.
The wrestlers for me, I find myself, be it in the school environment or the community theatre environment, you're just trying to do so much in such a short amount of time. So that's the practical wrestle. The wrestle as far as creatively, I don't know, it comes pretty easy to me. It does come pretty easy. I probably think, I'm going to say that. Yeah, it comes pretty easy to me. Yeah, it's allowed.
It's allowed.
I don't struggle in coming up with ideas. I do quite a bit of writing as well. I write some devotional stuff that's connected to the radio station. And I love the idea of just starting with a blank page and in that environment, say a quick prayer and the creativity comes.
Wow.
So I enjoy that. I did write a bit of a book when I was on air in the breakfast show, which is a whole pile of stories of my life. And I really enjoyed that process.
Yeah.
So I enjoy writing as well. Performing's gone now. I'm quite happy not to perform. I love, see, this is how I describe directing to people.
Yeah, great.
Okay, you're an artist and you want to paint a painting, right? So you walk into your studio and there's people standing around. There's your colour palette and your brushes and your water and everything like that. And then you say to somebody, oh, can you tie my hands behind my back, please? And then tie your hands behind your back and you go, you, Lauren, can you grab that brush there and can you put that in the water? Can you do the blue? Can you start stroking that along the top? Okay, good. Right. Renee, I'm wanting to do clouds here. I see them as fluffy clouds. Oh, a bit fluffy. And that's basically directing. You're creating.
So frustrating.
Well, it is. You're creating it. You're creating something that you have total control, but you don't have total control.
Yes.
You're actually expressing your creativity through someone else. That's why I enjoy the writing component of what I do, because that's all me, so to speak. And in the early days, my brother and I did a lot of writing of shows and sketch work and touring shows and adapted things. And in the corporate theatre realm, I enjoyed that because I did the weirdest kind of things, like, some new mining machine, cog invention, kerfuffle valve machine or something being launched at some corporate conference down at the Gold Coast, and they want to pay me $5,000 to write a 10-piece opening.
How good.
That's about cogs and, and so that's like I was able to create things in that corporate area. And the writing I did for the city council with all the pantos in the city was great as well. So I don't get any big writing like that now, but directing is the main thing.
So, Robbie, when it comes to your creative process, we've found with the people that we've spoken to that they kind of lean on the spectrum between methodical approach or a chaotic approach. They're kind of one or the other. Where do you fall on that spectrum?
I'm definitely methodical. Probably for every hour I'm in the rehearsal room directing, I reckon I do 2 to 3 hours sitting here at a desk in preparation. Now, I mightn't use everything, but, for me, being in a rehearsal unprepared is like those horrible dreams you have where you're naked in a crowd or you're falling off a bus or something. I really try to be methodical. Some directors are more like all the creative side, and they'll really lean on a stage manager or a production manager. I tend to drive all the scheduling. I've got Excel documents. I've had them all open here while I'm planning for the choreographer, because I've got to tell her who's in what section, and I've got to work out who they are, because there's lots of double and triple casting with the ensemble, and that relates to what they're wearing. So I've done a costume grid. I've done the LED screens in this. I've done an LED screen. I know all the fly stuff. I've got lighting ideas. So I basically am seeing the show finished. There's blocks of it that aren't there, which I hand to the choreographer. The beautiful thing with musical theatre is I've got the full libretto, the full vocal score, and I can read read music well enough to basically just read this and actually see the show, and then it'll get, okay, those 7 pages, I'm yet to see what that is, because that's what the choreographer will do. But I've given her the kind of brief. So the methodical nature of it really works for me. But then when I get into the room, I've got all that with me, and then I will lean into the chaos of creativity. But I think people feel safe when they feel the person in charge knows what they're doing, or can at least pretend to know what they're doing. And I think that's part of creating the environment. And so I kind of work not so much with the bigger community companies now, but with the corporate stuff, it was like a one-man show. Like I'd go in and I'd be sort of just make it happen. Here's your brief, make it happen. Get people to help me. But over the years, I have a basic understanding of how a fly tower works and how they counterweight everything in a fly tower theatre, which this show's in. All the different lingo of set construction. And that's running a theatre company too, of course. Lighting, although it's constantly changing, I can sort of talk their language. And there's a whole thing, even little things like you've got stage left and stage right for actors. As soon as you go to Tech Week, you call it prompt and OP.
Yeah.
And I often see tech people in a working theatre go, oh, okay, like I've got to win them over because I think they get, people come in with a pair of tights and a big hat with a feather on it and shake spirit out and said, I'm the director, darling. I've got all the creativity. I have no idea what you silly people do, but this is my vision and think it's just going to come into air. So I'm letting go, like we said before, I'm letting go, but I'm steering. It's a bit like I don't mind the occasional cruise. And most of the time the captain isn't actually driving the ship. It's the engineers and the navigators and other crew. The captain's sort of down, having dinners and kissing babies and shaking hands, but he knows everything that's happening.
Yeah.
He's given the authority to people to do that. He would know everything, but he's not literally doing it. I mean, I love rehearsals where I look at the schedule and go, okay, there's hardly any scene work tonight. I'm basically kicking off rehearsal and watching the vocal director and the choreographer do their thing based on the ideas that I've given them. But I'm there and they'll come and go, well, you're thinking that. But I can always go, oh, hang on, guys. You've got those three people. That they can't actually be that because they're doubled up into another role.
Yeah.
Oh, man, Les Mis had a cast of 59 or 60 and there's like 600 roles in it. Like the costume grid is just so, because, it just travels through time.
Right, yeah.
And there's so much multiple casting.
Yeah.
And so like the captain sort of knows the big picture, I know that, but I'm letting those people go. So, and to do that, you've got to be methodical.
Yeah.
You have to be methodical.
So what part about it do you really love? Like what's the part of directing that you really enjoy?
I actually like the auditioning process.
Mm-hmm. How does that
I find it hard because I'm a softie. I like the auditioning process. I love the very first cast meeting. If anything, I'm more nervous. The only time I'm nervous through the whole process is the preparation and lead up to the very first cast meeting, which we've done for this school show, where everybody comes together and meets everybody, and I kind of present what the director sort of present what's called a super objective for the show, and then the themes, and then how we're going to approach those themes and how we're going to make it happen. And for the school show, we did a design brief presentation and a costume presentation, and it's like imparting the passion I have into a team. Yeah. And I think that's the most important part. So I actually probably enjoy that the best. By the time I get to Tech Week, people always go, Robbie, aren't you stressed? Aren't you worried? Aren't you stressed? Techie things aren't going that well.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, we've got, I suppose that comes with experience. It's like, the sun will still come up tomorrow, Annie had it right. Yeah. It's going to, we'll be okay. As long as nobody dies, we'll be right, So I'm kind of chilled by then. The bit in the middle can be a grind. There can be, I tend to find you have cast, it's a bit like a race where all the horses are one's out here and one's right back here, and you're worried about this one back here. And if you don't know them, but I get to work with actors repeatedly and I go, I'm not worried about Fred. Yeah. He's always back like that. He'll just accelerate at the end, whereas some actors turn up and they know every word, they know everything. You can just stick them in the costume and throw them on.
Yes.
That's not necessarily a good thing. It's better for them to all work off each other and create something together. Yeah. So I would say I love the beginning. I love the product at the end. The hardest bit is probably it can be a real grind in the middle. And it can be with time restraints. It can be it's not stressful, but it's hard work.
Yeah. So casting must be so critical because it can make or break a show. Do you ever think, oh, I might have made a mistake there? Oh, and at that
Many
point, is it
names.
just, I didn't make a mistake, we just have to make this.
I would say sometimes I think, gee, did I make a mistake?
Right.
But luckily enough, with the standard of people that, because I kind of do. I mean, I do the favourites, like, did Mamma Mia and of this last run, because I had a bit of a hiatus from directing big shows when I was doing breakfast radio,
Okay.
because I couldn't do breakfast in the morning. Then I had other activities I was doing in the middle of the day, and then do theatre at night and on the weekends. So I had a hiatus. But when I came back, I did Wicked, Les Mis, Mamma Mia, Drowsy Chaperone, some really popular shows. So I've been lucky enough to have a big pool of community performers, and there are a few that sort of follow me around, and so I've been lucky enough to have a good standard. But I have had people where I thought I've done wrong, but I've never actually walked away from a show and thought, I really wish I'd given that part to that other person. Never.
Wow.
But I think that's to do with a relationship more than anything. It's a bit like, when you're a teenager and you fall in love with one person and you think the whole world's going to end because they don't like you. And then, you meet the right person, be it for life or for a season, and you never give the other person a thought.
Yeah.
So you do kind of fall in love with them in the correct sense of the manner.
Yeah.
And I imagine that's your leadership style as well, that high relational dynamic. You would bring that out in them through the process.
I try to. And they can be, particularly in the school environment, because they all kind of know the teachers. And I think kids, in grade 10, 11, 12, a lot of them, it's like a new teacher and they're sort of sizing me up. Is he a tough teacher or is he going to be a fun teacher? And you've got to win them over the same way you do with adults. I don't win everybody over. I've had not clashes, but people that I feel I've loved them, but for whatever reason, they didn't like me. But hey, they can get it wrong.
They're lost.
They're lost.
They're still learning.
They're still learning. They are, yeah.
Can I ask, because of the rigor, because of your the time that you spend outside of the room, it sounds to me that actually gives you the freedom then to empower. And is that something you learned early on? Like, your personal process is that you need a certain amount of time to just get your ducks in a row, and then you're able to give people the freedom to play inside those boxes?
That's right. And then not be precious about my own ideas. The big ones, like, I've got a super objective for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I don't know if you know the show, but my super objective for that is that it's actually a show about a boy who doesn't have a father finding a man who doesn't have an heir, and them coming together and finding each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so every choice needs to make that happen. The way those two characters interact with each other. And so even though Willy Wonka is this sort of, he can be played very dark and very, look at Johnny Depp. He can just play really dark and kind of creepy. Yes. That's a deal breaker for me not to break that, because I've got the super objective. Then there's obviously content. So if there's anything that's improvisational, I don't want things in the show that I wouldn't be happy for my 95-year-old mum or, my kids when they were kids, teenagers or teenagers to watch. So I'm there's certain deal breakers or, no-brainers.
Non-negotiables.
Non-negotiables, that's better. But under that, I don't hold on too preciously, because you can be like, oh, now we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and it's going to be great, it's going to do this. Doesn't work. Let's try it again. Doesn't work. Let's try it again. Doesn't work. Let's try it again. Oh, well, good, got to go home now. And nothing gets done, okay?
Yes.
So it's got to be, that's not working. Okay, let's just think, let's try something completely different. Right, okay, no, that's not working. Little Mary in the ensemble goes, what if you did this?
Yes.
Let's try it. It works. Brilliant. Mary could be the next director, when she's an adult.
I've heard it said best idea wins.
Yes. Yeah. The first idea is not always the best idea.
Mm-hmm.
I just like to go in rehearsal with enough first ideas that I can use the time that I have, so that at least, and I'll do things in a show, particularly with comedy. See, comedy takes the time. Les Mis was actually, theatrically, it was a big production job, like huge logistical job, but there's no dialogue in it, so I don't have to direct theatre scenes. So much it was that we had 2 choreographers for that because there was so much movement in it. It was actually easy to direct, but to actually do something like Guys and Dolls, which you missed, which has a lot of funny big scenes of very, very clever fast style comedy. That takes time. And so I know I can do stuff and going, that bit's working, that bit's could work, that bit's not working, but let's leave it like that. Let's move on. Then when we come back to that scene, I can go, okay, now we can change that. But I don't like to get stuck on something. It's like a record that's an old record that's sort of jumping here and have to get to the end of what we schedule for every rehearsal because we just got to get there. And I endeavour and I achieve, like for this, when we did Godspell, we did a full run of that show in the rehearsal room with an audience, an important audience. It was ready. You could have watched that, I felt, there. And then I'm a big one for getting it running and getting people seeing it, like, whereas in a lot of theatrical endeavours, it's like the first time, particularly in the school realm, particularly in the state school realm, it can be, the first time they're actually putting the whole thing together is sort of in the dress rehearsal. Yeah. And that's not how real theatre works. The big shows in New York, they run previews for months and they go back into rehearsal rooms for 6 months and write 3 new songs and, change 17 costumes and they go back and then they have preview audiences. Now, that's on steroids, of course. That's over the top. But I at least know that with this show that I'm working on now, the kids will go into the theatre space they've already performed it. It might be to track, they've done the sits probe or the rehearsal with the orchestra. They've done that. It's got to be put together in the space.
Can I ask, Robbie, I love to ask some of our guests this, particularly when there's a big deadline, a big event, it's public. How do you personally deal with pressure? Or when something 5 minutes before curtain, it's not coming together. Do you naturally have a inbuilt regulation, calm sense about you, or have you had to work on how you deal with pressure and when things don't work?
I've had some doozies. I've had big community carol events where there's a thunderstorm happening in the middle of the show. And there's stand-up arguments, between, people from a council who are all worried about health and safety, and then the lady who's the choreographer from the dance school and said, I've got 200 parents out there waiting to see their kids dance, so I've had some doozies. Again, I think it's to do with people's personality. I'm pretty cool in those situations. Because it's important to me, but there's things that are more important. I mean, like I said, it's not the end of the world if, a show's delayed. When we were running a theatre company, we had all kinds of stuff, broken legs and, people running on, people
literally
broken legs, and
all right, tick.
I remember my brother went on and did a whole second act of a comedy with the book. It's the whole stage manager comes out, makes an announcement. Look, we've had a bit of an accident backstage. Whoever, he's okay. We've just rushed him off to hospital. There'll just be a slightly longer interval. We'll get back to you. You just problem solve.
Yeah.
And you respect people. You respect your audience. You respect the cast. And, then you go out and say, well, look, guess what? One of our producers is going to step into that role. You might see a script on stage, and let's see. And you know what? People go, that was the best second act of this show I've ever seen, because people love to see things go wrong. People love to see things go wrong.
Yes.
But that's what live theatre is.
It's true.
I go and see shows, and as a director, I'm going, I don't think that was meant to happen. But, I love it when a dancer's hat comes off. I used to love it when my daughter was doing dance schools, big as Stedfords. Always some kid's bit of costume would come off. And I'd be going, okay, which one of the older kids is going to incorporate into the choreography to swoop up and pick it up?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, you're just all onto that. You forget the rest of the thing. So I think I might hook back to the whole thing of the calling, the vocation, the calling. I wouldn't have been put into some of those situations if I didn't have the personality and the nature.
Yeah, it's in your toolkit already.
Yeah, that's right.
I also am super curious. Are you a reader? Do you watch TV? You mentioned the documentary that I madly wrote down because the three of us love watching behind the scenes. So I think we're all going to be looking out for that. But what is it that you, at the end of the day, you love just sitting down and reading or watching?
I'm not a big reader. Never have been a big reader.
Okay.
I love something that's not very theatrical is probably 20th century history. Like I love all the Netflix docos, about the Cold War or about World War II or about, a lot of the dark crime stuff, some of it can be pretty dicey, but, like serial killers and cults and all those kind of heavy kind of things that they don't have a song in them.
Yeah.
So
there's no song.
No song in those. It won't be turning into a musical. So I do love a good doco, which again just sounds like what an old man would say. I love a good doco. So that would be my relaxation as far as getting stuff in. Listen to a lot of podcasts. Listen to a lot of, I suppose, biblical preaching podcasts. To fill up that side of who I am. There's a great one I listen to called Stuff You Should Know. It's been around for years. It's two American guys just talking about stuff you should know.
That's great.
Let's all write that down.
I'm going to write that down.
Good.
It's just, some of them are a bit weird, but the other night they were talking about the major moments that were captured by television in the 20th century.
Oh, fun.
Just stuff like that, or how does I don't know, how do earpods work or something stupid? Like just
obviously I need to listen to
that. Yeah, it's funny that one, But so I'm not a big reader. I'd love to see more theatre. I probably don't see as much as I should now. I have seen a lot of things, so sometimes that can be a money thing. It's like, I'd love to see that show again. No, like Little Shop of Horrors is on in Brisbane at the moment, and I know a couple of the people in it.
And just in closing, because this has been so fascinating, but I'm really interested to see what you're excited about for 2026. Like, what's on the horizon?
Well, I've got the school show I'm currently working on. I'm really looking forward to that. The daytime job, we talked earlier about having a real job. I work for 96.5, which is the radio station in Brisbane, and we've got a big gala event at City Hall, which I'll be involved in the creative team for that, writing some for video content and involved on the team formulating that. Yep. So that's in late May. I'm looking forward to that, and I'm actually looking forward to a bit of a holiday, July, August.
Lovely.
My wife and I bought a motorhome recently. Again, I'm sounding so old. I can't believe it.
No, this is the dream.
Yeah.
I would love one.
I absolutely would love one. Yes.
Yeah. And so we're going to have a bit of a trip, the two of us and our little dog, just for 5 or 6 weeks. So we're not doing the big, round Australia trip. I don't really want to stop doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
What I do at the radio station now is something that's really conducive to cutting back hours as I, over the next 10 years. But I'm enjoying, I kind of do a production a year somewhere, either community theatre or a school. That's how it seems to land. That's that's the rest of the year for us.
Amazing. And tell me about your dog.
Oh, little Frankie. He's a little, Maltese Shih Tzu cross. Little softy, little black and white.
A little
dog.
fluff ball.
A little fluff ball, yeah.
Renee has a little fluff ball.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a little toy poodle, and she just follows me everywhere, and I just think, where have you been all my life? Like, you just...
They're so loyal, aren't they?
Oh, the love of a dog. I mean, they talk about it, but I'm like, it's real. It's actually a real thing.
Yeah. Well, we had a dog growing up when the kids were young called Barkley, and he got to 15, and, he left us. And then we thought, well, that's it. We won't get a dog. And then when we had COVID, the kids were here and the four of us were all in that. So Frankie, we got him in 2020. He was a COVID dog. Everyone was going out and buying puppies.
Yes.
So we got him in 2020. Baby. Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Does that
similar?
Count?
Yeah,
similar
absolutely.
Thing. Only less
the love of a baby. Yes, it's true.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I have so enjoyed this chat, Robbie. We really appreciate your time.
Oh, it was my pleasure. It's great to catch up. I really enjoyed it.
Welcome to the B-side.
Well, what a great chat. I really enjoyed that conversation with Robbie. What did you guys think?
Yes. What a wonderful man. So inspiring, so energetic, and such a clear calling on his life. And I love that he spoke to that. It was a beautiful conversation.
I like his thing about the best idea wins. He seems to
Yes.
be really humble in his leadership style, and he seems to want to champion the people around him, particularly the next generation, and be open. You know, he talked about being open-handed with his ideas and
Yes.
supporting the ideas of, you know, if it's, did he mention a little girl in the ensemble or something? I think he mentioned.
It was
I can't
Mary
remember.
in the ensemble. Yeah. Lovely Mary.
Yeah, and I think that's really great because some people might think of a leader as someone who is, I've got the best idea, this is how we're going to do it, but he really flips that on its head in saying
Yes.
that a leader is someone who champions. He still guides, still provides that safety net that is the captain of the ship.
Yep.
But can champion the ideas of those around him.
He has this wonderful ability to be both highly organized and highly relational. And that is a unicorn mix. He puts a lot of rigor into what he does before heading into the room so that the ego's at the door, I think. You know, he leaves the ego at the door and then is enabling others to shine. And it's a beautiful thing to see, even though he spoke a lot about the things that he's done, but it just really felt like the joy was enabling others to shine.
What did you think, Nate?
Yeah, I loved hearing about when asked like what his creative, I guess, style is, whether he's like methodical or more, I guess, chaotic, for lack of a better word. My interpretation is he's kind of a bit of both, where he's methodical in the preparation, the groundwork, spends a lot of time, building that framework out, having it all there. But then when it comes time to actually execute the show, or even just comes time to, all right, well, I've got the framework, I've got the safety net there, but now let's let it run free and let's just see what happens. Let's see what options come out of it. Let's see what ideas flow from that. And for me, it's the best of both worlds. It's having the framework beforehand allows you to explore those creative ideas almost in this, like, not necessarily controlled environment, but it just really opens up to go, look, let's just see what happens. But, you know, every idea is going to be pointed in this direction because he's put in that time beforehand and given everyone sort of the stepping stones to get started.
A safe environment for that risk-taking.
Absolutely. I loved how you talked about all the, you know, the theatre that he watched kind of into his teens and young adult years, and just the imagery of these beautiful local theatre companies. And I think, do you know what it did to me? It made me think, I need to get along to some local theatre, you know, like actually sit there and enjoy and remind myself of all the layers of what's going on around it, and actually get in and support. And I think it was just a really good reminder of, like, I love live concerts and sporting events, etc. And I think, oh gosh, I don't go to enough live theatre. You know, it just, it was a little cute little nudge.
Well, your boys are in school, soon you'll get to go to all their musicals and everything in high school.
Do you know what? When Ollie was in the school choir, he'd need to be at all 6 performances, and that's not when that's not when I thought I need to go to more live theatre. I felt like my tank was full at that point. Bless him. But all of that is happening, which is really fun. And to be honest, you know, when he talked about like school musicals and things, that was always the highlight of my year. I love sport. I love all the things. I would do all the things. But man, to be in a school musical, and my dad would actually direct ours. We're a country school in Victoria.
Jeff?
My dad wears all the hats, and he would write them often, and they were contextualized to the country. And it was just, I look back and I go, that guy, you know, dads, hey? How good are dads? And Robbie today just seemed like a standout dad as well, championing his kids, creating that environment where they explore. And brilliant. Just brilliant. Well, great chat, guys. Catch you next time.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to The Creative Wrestle.
Don't forget to subscribe, find us on socials and share with your friends.